Well, I'm from Bloomington, Indiana. I tour all over the US and I tour Europe and the UK, usually with a three-piece. I've been on the road since 2005, so I'm kind of a late bloomer and getting started. I have been writing, though, since I was 14, and the first song I wrote was called Never What I Seem, and it was a very typical 14-year-old kind of a song. Maybe I'm a watercolor painting in a gallery, done in flowing shades of black and white. And maybe I'm an old man sitting on a park bench with hands as cold as ice and eyes as black as the very blackest night. And maybe I'm a dream. Look closely, because I'm never what I seem. Because at 14 I was not at all sure what I was or what I would be. At this point, I am finishing up almost 3 weeks of touring Ireland and Northern Ireland and the Republic, and I am the last two shows I have are down here in the south at the Garter Lane Theatre in Waterford and at the White Horse Inn in Ballincollig. I love Ireland. I could do with a tad more sunshine, I'll be honest, just a little tiny bit, but I can see why so many poets are spawned from this place. It makes perfect sense. It's a magically poetical landscape, and yes.
And it's always raining.
And it's always raining. So I have just finished my 6th solo album. This is the first album that I've put out without a record company. For those of you who are touring and working, you know that the small labels have all either been eaten by conglomerates or have disappeared. I don't think it's necessarily a crisis point that we're at as songwriters, but we're facing a brand new paradigm. A generation of people are really uninterested in albums. At this point, they're interested in single songs, right? So maybe some of you are already working in that paradigm, you're already thinking in that way. I'm still thinking in the longer, broader format of an entire album when I write. So it's been a very interesting transition. This is the first time I've put an album out on my own, and I did it by way of crowdfunding. Are you all familiar with that notion? Is that happening here? It is. Yeah, quite a lot. I had a very successful crowdfunder. Exceeded what I needed by quite a lot. And it was a validation that was really nice from fan base and from people who wanted to contribute to the production of more work for myself. And the album is called Flat Earth Diary, because I had a handful of songs. I hadn't put an album out in 4 years. I had incredible writer's block, beyond reckoning. I was stressed. I had a lot of pressure from booking agents to put out a new album. It's hard enough to tour without a new album. Everyone's doing one every year at the level that I tour at. And my friends took me for a sailing trip on Lake Huron, in the North Channel of Lake Huron in Canada. Just being on the water, just having the open space, just being away from this machine for 10 days. I wrote 4 songs, and the whole through line of the album came together. So I thought I would read you just the foreword, because I think it encapsulates how I feel about songwriting. One of the proofs of the immortality of the soul is that myriads have believed it. They also believed the world was flat. Mark Twain. In every important way, every song begins with a leap of faith. Whether or not Mark Twain believed in the existence of the human soul, it's hard for a songwriter to disregard the plausibility. Along the way, and this is in no way specific to me and my road dogging experience, we do leave little bits of them on bar stools and in empty theater seats. Our souls, I mean. We songwriters categorically believe that the soul exists, if for no other reason than the incessant whistling through the shadowy tatters of ours. You need proof? Patti Smith may have a song for you. If not her, Leonard Cohen absolutely does. Maybe even me if it comes to it. The process of retrieving the song from this unknowable framework or space is the thing, though. It often feels to me like standing on the edge of the flat earth, leaning out slightly, feeling the pull of the nameless dark, trying to make shapes in the murky silence, and then inexplicably leaping. People ask me about inspiration, how it comes about, what's the process. Sometimes it's alchemy, black magic, I have no idea. Painters have such extraordinary descriptive language for their work, and I wish I did, or maybe I'm glad I don't, because then I'd have to live up to it and know. Magically, Flat Earth Diary, the album, came together on a 10-day sailing trip on the North Channel of Lake Huron, just this past July. Some of the songs were already in existence. 3 of them were written on the boat. When I boarded, the unrecorded album was planned to be titled Box of Clouds. And though the songs scheduled to be included were not all top picks for me, I'd written a lot in 4 years, but only a scant handful of songs I'd want in historical record, I was succumbing to pressure to produce something, anything. So maybe it was the pressure, or maybe it was the water. Maybe it was the space between myself and the incessant tug of online business. Whatever the hocus pocus, and for good, bad, or otherwise, I have yet to hear from the critics, but I will soon enough. The album emerged in the title track, and the through line instantly fell into place for me as I floated through time backward, pulling out mental snapshots of tinted black and white photos, feathered hats, tic-tac-toe on foggy windows. But it's cumulative in nature, inspiration I mean. The brain is said to process 0.1 quadrillion information bytes per second. A singular occurrence, image, or even sailing trip may be only the tipping point for a creative output event, but myriad impressions have come in prior to weave together the foundations of the vessels we launch. I thought I'd recall some events, correspondence, artworks, and the creations of friends and people whose work I admire that have inspired me along the way. Conversations, all manner of miasma that lead to the songs that make up Flat Earth Diary, and you can draw your own conclusions. Enjoy the ride, and when the wind gusts hit, grab a martini and ride it out with me to the end. There's bound to be an unforeseen plot twist, and it would be sad if you gave up and missed it, and then there you'd be wondering where my poker-playing uncle mysteriously disappeared to. So, that's where I was, and that's where I was with Flat Earth Diary. The most valuable thing that I found, and I realized I had not given myself for some number of years, was the space to write. Do all of you, are most of you solo writers? Do you write on your own, or do you write collaboratively with others? Both. Do you find collaborations easy? I mean, the actual construction of songs. Are some of you just lyricists and you collaborate with, like, Bernie Taupin and Elton John? You know? No? I find... Are you? So you're a lyricist?
That's right.
That's right, so you're always looking for a vessel. I find that kind of collaboration I can do. I like that. When somebody hands me either a chunk of text or they hand me a chord structure or a melody even. What I have a hard time doing is what I refer to as the Nashville briefcase writing, where you sit down and you and I get together and then we're gonna write a song today, and then we sit down and we make a meeting. In Nashville, we might not even have ever met each other, and we sit down to write a song, to write a hit song. That makes me itchy, just thinking about that. I've done big collaborative projects in that way. In the Shrewsbury Darwin Songhouse I did, celebrating Charles Darwin's 200th anniversary of his birth in England. I collaborated with people in that way. In Wilderness Plots, that was the PBS special I did, also collaborated that way. I tend to think lyrics first. I consume literature. I'm always reading a novel of some sort. I've read a ton of poetry. And I think words first. I'm going to just play you one of the songs that came from the boat, which is a little unlike the way that I usually write. It's called Always Somewhere. Don't let the shadows bend you low, because somebody tells you so. Believe in what you know, there's always somewhere left to go. The truth won't always set you free, but neither will a lie. So be a better man than you thought you'd be, because you know somewhere left to go. It's hidden in a miner's map and in attempts and photographs. So maybe turn the key and laugh, because you know. Instead of asking how and why, I set out to find the bluest sky beyond the pains. My oh, nowhere that you know, and there's always somewhere left to go. Believe in love and second sight. Remember they're not always right. The ones who say you gotta fight and never walk away. Believe in what not knowing brings. Believe in why the caged bird sings. Expect 1,000 happy things, no matter what they say. Because hidden in the wake of dream, the darkness floats, and one might see the worst of all, and everything is blinding, beautiful, blinding, beautiful, beautiful. It's not enough to wish her 4th of July, and you might miss her, so do it now, go on and kiss her. Oh, you know, there's always somewhere left to go. So I had read in 6 months prior The Great Gatsby, and there was one line that caught me and said, "What foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams," which was like one of the greatest lines ever written. It just grabbed me, and so I was recalling a poem that a friend of mine had sent that was based on in and around a Robert Service poem about when he was taking his father's ashes and burying them and putting them in the water, actually, in Lake Michigan. I was on Lake Huron, one lake over, and I was there on the boat and surrounded by water and recalling this poem of his, which was just gorgeous. And suddenly there I was on the back of his bicycle. He was carrying his father's ashes in a knapsack on his back. And I was with him on a cold, clear day as the ashes went out into the water. And I imagined his father saying the things that I would say to my own children. When you come up against the wall of, I have nowhere left to go, there's always somewhere left to go. There's always an opportunity. There's always a possibility. But the line, "What foul dust floated in the wake of his dreams," is what spurred the entire song into existence in that way. And it occurred to me, I have friends now, this is a dark time of year. People tend to die this time of year, and it happens every year, and the older we get, the more people go. And I have friends that are going through very difficult things, breakups and deaths of loved ones and things like that. I feel as if we can never know until we come through those dark periods what they served us, and especially as songwriters. Sadly for me, the muse for me, a lot of it has been either unrequited love or emotional suffering. And I'm trying for something else. And I think always somewhere is me getting closer to that goal. But I think that once you come through the darkness, and what I was trying to say, and hidden in the wake of a dream, the darkness floats, and what might seem the worst of all and everything is blinding, beautiful. We come through the other side and we realize either we had to go through that in order to get to a new place. As a songwriter, I equate this with, I don't know if any of you have had this, but everything you write is absolute crap. It's just crap, and there's nothing there. A good friend of mine, Peter Mulvey, said to me once, until you write that crap song all the way from start to finish, it will not leave and let something else in. And I think it's absolutely true. So I write it all the way out, spitting, whatever, but I write it. Then I put it someplace, I won't curse, but I put it in something called the Bull fill-in-the-blank files. I have 3 of them, computer files, where I put what I think are the lousiest songs anyone's ever written, or lines that I can't get to flesh out into a song, or an idea that sparked and then someone came in the room and the idea left, or an idea that launched while I was driving and damn it, I couldn't stop fast enough to catch it. I go back to them. Another reason to write terrible songs all the way through, or songs that you don't love, is because you can go back and grab lines, and I mine songs out of those lines. So, I have been lucky. I have a lot of really, really wonderful, smart friends. Go figure. And one of them is a professor who introduced me to the notion that I think we all learned when we were in school of inventio, the canons of rhetoric, invention, disposition, memory. I've got them written down. But I tend to structurally put things together by way of inventio. Disposition, elocution, memory, and pronunciation. I know this all sounds very academic and dull, but every song, to me, starts with a conflict, right? Something. Generally it's, I love you, but you don't love me. Or I love you, but I also love someone else. Or I love you, but it turns out you're my biological brother. Or I love you, but my mother hates you, or something. Everything has conflict. The song exists to try to resolve it. And so, kind of looking at this notion of running through the stages of invention, I almost always put songs together in this way. So there's the first stage of invention, which we all know. That's the inspiration for the song. What can anyone tell me? What inspires a song? Anyone? And that, that was an example of something that came about while I was in the Darwin Songhouse under immense amounts of pressure to produce something. 8 songwriters were put in a house. This was put together by the Shrewsbury Folk Festival. I don't know if any of you have been. It's a big folk festival in Shropshire. To celebrate Darwin's 200th anniversary in his hometown, they put 8 songwriters in a 16th century farmhouse in Shrewsbury. They gave us 7 days to collaborate and write an album. And on the 8th day, we had to record the live album at a sold-out show at the Theatre Severn. It was incredible pressure. I've said it before, but luckily they stocked the house with cases upon cases of wine and beer. You would not have believed it. It was an entire wall stacked with liquor, and we went through probably every bit of it. And I don't know what it is about the writers and liquor, but geez. I was sitting, and it was the last song I wrote. I was by myself. I was feeling the pressure of being American I was the only American female in the house. George Bush was president at the time. I couldn't apologize enough. I felt this sort of desperation, trying to convince my English contemporaries that we really weren't all shoot 'em up cowboy Jerry Springer show rejects. The media presents us so badly, and I was feeling very American, and Clock of the World came from the conflict in America of faith and science. It exists everywhere, I'm sure, but in America it exists in a very circusy fashion. You know, with the absolute certainty that the Earth can only be 6,000 years old in one camp, and then the absolute disregard of anything that is hocus pocus, bead jangling at the sky god in the other camp. And I was looking for the tolerance that I myself personally think needs to exist between science and faith, because science does not need, science needs proof, faith does not. Trying to resolve the conflict of being an American in London, Shropshire, trying to resolve those conflicts, and the song came about. And I guess I could do it now. I hadn't actually planned to do that song, but I'll just go ahead and sing that for you, and the conflict resolution of that. The collaboration part of that for me was the three other songwriters, Corinne Polwart, who's wonderful, Rachel McShane is a wonderful instrumentalist and vocalist in a band called Bellowhead, and Emily Smith is an amazing Scottish singer. They sang harmonies with me, and it's on YouTube, and they made something of the song that elevated it, I think, infinitely. I am pondering the citizenry of the place I live, privilege and advantage, but a willingness to give. These droves and droves of immigrants came teeming across the plains, the cavalry behind them, and we are what remains. And if you've got $1, someone will give you something for it, but a little more will get you something nicer, I'm sure of it. Maybe a watch that's made in China from the trunk of someone's car, or a life-size cardboard cutout of a famous movie star. Somewhere bells are ringing, somewhere someone's marrying, or a casket someone's carrying. A crowd somewhere is gathering, somewhere a bell is marking what is passing and sublime, like the clock of the world, keeping perfect holy time. Ravenous and beautiful, it's all beyond me, I admit. I can buy it if I want it, but I don't need so much of it. And the price will need repaying, don't know how it will be met. The bells will go on ringing, and grace may find us yet. Or will the angels stumble weary, tired of tasks they've been assigned? Chimes ringing resoundly while they hold the firing lines. With great imagination we call these creatures from the air, and as easily convince ourselves they were never there. Somewhere bells are ringing, somewhere someone's marrying, or a casket someone's carrying. A crowd somewhere is gathering, somewhere a bell is marking what is passing and sublime, like the clock of the world, keeping perfect holy time. And I'm listening for a church bell, and I know somewhere it rings, reading Darwin by the window in the order of natural things. And there is grandeur in his viewpoint, these evolutionary strains. Still nothing's quiet on the Eastern Front, so the cavalry remains. Always the cavalry remains. And got $1, someone will give you something for it. But a little more will get you something nicer, I'm sure of it. Here's a painting of a woman, maybe all the way from Rome. Look how sad and pretty, she's so far away from home. Somewhere bells are ringing, somewhere someone's marrying, or a casket someone's carrying. Crowd somewhere is gathering, somewhere a bell is marking what is passing and sublime. Like the clock of the world, keeping perfect holy time. Like the clock of the world, keeping perfect holy time. Thank you. So that's a very personal song for me, but I don't generally write personally. I generally write characters. So I don't know why. I think it's my background. I have a big musical theater background. I was a classically trained pianist in college, and I was a musical theater director, musical director. Helped pay my way through when I was going to school. And I think that my love of storyline and literature fuels the notion of the characters behind my songs. But also, my friends have found their way in, sometimes. I usually have to ask some kind of permission, but I had a friend who decided to open, she and her husband decided they would open their marriage, and to put some spice into things, I guess. Which is a very dangerous endeavor, I think, for people. And her husband was initially for it, but the man that she got involved with, that they both, apparently, they had this very open situation and talked to this other man, and, you know, that she would be able to toddle off with him from time to time. As distasteful as that is to some people, it's how some people choose to live. She said the man sat across from her. He was Irish. Yes. Chance would have it, and he said, I'm not going to do an Irish accent, it's terrible, I'm not even going to try. But he said, to these two married people, as he was about to, inevitably, he would break up their marriage completely. But he said, in the very beginning, you're dancing in a minefield. It just seems to me that you're dancing in a minefield. And that launched a song. I mean, completely launched a song. And she left and she fell in love with him. And then they got married and they since got divorced, but shockingly. But it spawned the lyric, you're dancing in a minefield like Ginger Rogers, from her husband's perspective. Like anybody looking hard couldn't see the sunken eyes and the hands trembling, and every step is farther from me. And I was very proud of that, and I feel guilty every time I see her in the street. So for me, inspiration comes everywhere. Everywhere you're talking about it. I think for all of us songwriters, it's not just one place, but it comes from a line of poetry, a movie, a painting, a piece of literature I'm reading. My friend said, she was complaining about her husband. And she said, it's like all our conversations are in doorways. He's heading one way, I'm heading the other. I went, ah. When I was in the Darwin Songhouse, I couldn't come up with anything in the beginning, and I was falling apart. Because not only did I not have any solitude, I couldn't get away from the sound of the doodly-doodly in every room of the house. Somebody was playing a guitar, somebody was playing an accordion, somebody was writing something. I walked outside. Literally, I was falling apart and feeling so sorry for myself. And so then, of course, I didn't burst into tears because I'm a songwriter. I was like a single tear. And then I walked out to this railroad bridge where Charles Darwin surely stood, and I was praying for some inspiration. Give me something, please, give me something. And there was nothing, and so then there were more tears. And then I stood over the railroad bridge, and I leaned my head out. And because I'm a songwriter, I was watching the tears drop one by one out of my eyelids and splash onto the railroad ties. And I said, these people are going to make a monkey out of me. A monkey. They're going to make a monkey out of me, a monkey out of me. And I wrote, they're going to make a, dear sir, Mr. I wrote a letter. All of a sudden there was a letter from someone named Emma Brawley to Charles Darwin. Dear Mr. Darwin, I read a letter. Says I'm no better than a monkey in a dress. And I said, all right, screw it. I'm the American in this house. I'm going to write the American caricature. And there she is. And I didn't even have a chance to get back to the house and the song was written. And as I stood in the driveway walking into the house, the second song was written, and a lullaby from Emma Darwin to Charles Darwin. But, you don't know what's going to inspire it. So that's the invention portion. When I was on the boat, the notion that I could not see land anywhere inspired Flat Earth Diary. I love how adaptable human beings are. Forever we believed the earth was flat. We just believed it. They said it was, so it was. Now they say it's round. Yes, I've seen pictures from space, but I don't know that they're not making that up, and I can't do the math to prove it. So I thought to myself on that boat, I am a huge fan of Terry Pratchett. He's my favorite author. I love him. And I thought, I like his notion. I like the ancient notion of the flat world riding on the back of 4 elephants who are standing atop a gigantic sky turtle. And that I'm going to go with. So that's where Flat Earth Diary came from. So then we go, what I gave you in the songwriting sheet is some of the things that I do when I'm trying to flesh out a character. It's really simple stuff, and probably all of you have thought of it already. But when I can't find something to write about and somebody hasn't spoken something and there's not a poem and there's not a painting and there's not something for me to call upon, I go here. And I found that when I was on that boat, for the first time, I really went backward into my past and actually wrote my past into existence. So the first one is, my hometown, my family. I wrote a song called Hear That about sneaking out my back door as a child. And it all started with my memory of a cuckoo clock, where the 2 little characters come out the doors and they kiss, and then they go back in. There's a list, and we're not in school, so I'm not going to bother reading all this to you, but take it home, and it might do you some good. I ended up fleshing out songs from a little photo in a silver frame of my parents. It's an old black and white with the lips tinted too pink. I don't know if any of you have those family photos. And the eyes a little too blue. I picked them up and I had them walking hand in hand down my road, my country lane, a thing they never did. And I fictionalized what I thought might have been the first 6 months of their marriage. I find that when I am struggling and I'm not getting anything at all, running through these little exercises in the I come from, a small childhood object, clothespins, 45 records, something that you remember of your grandmother's, your father's, something, your home description, sensory input. I remember the way something smelled. Sometimes just the way something smelled can spark a song. I have shown you basically the things that I keep, the list of ideas. I keep them in files, in computer files. I also keep them on my iPhone. Somebody said something hilarious the other day on Facebook. They said, in my hand, I contain all of the knowledge, access to all of the knowledge known to mankind, and I use it to argue with strangers and look at pictures of cats. I thought that was hilarious. But I keep my information in here too. I have a notebook in here. And I write things down as I hear them now, and I also have a recorder in here. Because I've made the mistake too many times while I'm driving of, oh yeah, I'll get that when I get home, and it is not coming back. Isn't that the worst feeling? And it leaves and it doesn't come back. So this is what I do. Take a look at that. I initially had thought that they wanted a 3-hour seminar. Then I would have walked you through each one of these individually. But we're doing, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I just wanted to give you something that was tangible from my own personal process in the songwriting seminars that I conduct. And I do very often hands-on workshops. I do the kinds of workshops that I do with beginners would be all of us writing a song right now together. But most of you are too far into it, and I don't think you want to write a Moon Spoon in June type of song, so we're not going to do that. But I'm open to any questions that you might have. If you wanted to take a look at this handout and see if this is part of anybody's process. Have you heard folk artists write the same album 6 times? Yeah, over and over and over. We're under immense amounts of pressure to produce an album every year now. Every year. That's insane, I think. Are you really expected to come up with brand new, inspired subject matter every year? I don't want to do the same thing over and over, and I didn't want to. After I put out an album called Chocolate Paper Suites. It was a series of 3 song suites. They were all connected to each other thematically. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to make a broader musical statement. I didn't feel like I was being kind of snotty, but maybe I was, just saying, I want to make a broader musical statement. But I was bored with what I was doing, and I wanted to do something else. I think going out into the theatrical world and getting that other input and having to write in a different format was good. And it was really good for me. And gave me something else to write about on this album. So we go inspiration, then we go structure. We essentially decide, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a musical theater piece? What's it going to be? Is it going to be formulaic, 1-4-5? Abacab kind of songwriting? Is it going to be stream of consciousness? I think for the people that are writing songs, don't you think the song determines that as it comes in? Do you think? Yeah?
I think the song can take on its own personality and you're kind of following it.
Yeah, and you're kind of following it. My experience has been 100% of the time the song is something different than I conceived it would be at the outset. I can't say 100%, 95%. So, then for me, I can call myself a multi-instrumentalist because I play 3 instruments, but I only play 2 of them in public. You'll not really see me play guitar in public, though I write on guitar a lot. So the elocution is, we decide, as songwriters, what's the avenue going to be? Are you a songwriter that writes for other people? Some of you are. You write for other people to sing. If you're writing for yourself, are you going to play it on guitar? Are you going to play it on piano? How is it going to be presented? That's the elocution portion. I was going to play a song for you that I started on guitar that simply would not come on guitar. And I tried, and it was hours of playing this thing over and over and over again. It's one of the songs that I have that has no hook line. So it's fairly stream of consciousness, though there's a thematic run in it, and it's called 100 Years More. This is a character piece, and you'll see who the character is, I think. There are things I do that I never did, with 100 years more, and a fountain pen, and a fountain pen, and a great big boat, with a steamer trunk, sail the world. There are books I write that I thought aloud, with 100 years more, and a fountain pen, and a fountain pen, and my worries gone, all my worries gone, write them down. Try not to think on it, where time is moving on, but when the cows come home, it'll still be gone, it'll still be gone. There are girls I miss that I would have kissed with 100 years more, and a garden of roses, and a garden of roses for the girls I'd kissed if I could. Crows on the wire, they'll disagree, They all laugh at me, laugh at me, laugh at me, calling fool, fool, fool. Oh, it's something new, making yesterday like 100 years gone. Something gone away, something gone away, something I want back. My cherry blossom days and sultry nights, my cherry wine nights. Someone said to me, life is never fair, and 100 years more wouldn't change a thing. Love's a funny thing, it drags you by the hair in the end, scratched up and restless. And 100 years from what I can see, fast and furious, it would fly like Mercury, fly like Mercury. So I had to decide that had to move from guitar to piano because it could not come out. And one of the songwriting, I'm in a songwriting group, some songwriters that tour the States and Indiana. One of the things we do when we're really stuck, we give each other prompts, and the prompts are write off your instrument, try it, it's not easy. Write out of your genre, write jazz, even if it's bad jazz, write it. Write from someone else's perspective, and then, of course, I almost always do anyway. But there are ways you can jar yourself into a creative episode. You can jar yourself into it. The process of songwriting for me, the really honing process, and when it really comes down to it for me, is in the Memoria process, the process of learning and memorizing the material. As I'm writing, I will be playing. Maybe all of you do this, but I play the same phrases over and over and over again and work them slightly and add a different note, maybe change the word, maybe change the inflection. The songs come into existence for me that way while I'm trying to learn them. While I'm trying to learn one piece, a new piece comes in, and that's the most important part for me. John Cougar Mellencamp said once that if he doesn't have a song in 30 minutes, it's not worth anything. He's written some pretty big hit songs. That's work for him. I've had songs in 30 minutes. I got a song in 30 minutes. I don't think it was anything specifically musically exciting, but I'll just play it for you. This is 30 minutes. Steal me a car and we'll drive on out of here. We'll stop by the bar and get us some courage and a cold beer. I've seen what happens when people are staying in this town too long. So steal me a car and I'll drive and you can come along. Don't have to be much, just something with a stereo. No kind of hot rod, I'm thinking we should take it nice and slow. They're all laid up when people are staying in this town too long. So steal me a car and I'll drive and you can come along. And we'll head to New York City where the skyline's pretty and no one looks you in the eye. Go to Maine and dance in the rain, eat some lobster and sit by the water. Well, you haven't done nothing since last Thanksgiving. You're sitting way too long. So steal me a car and I'll drive and you can come along. That's the gist of it. I won't play the whole thing, but thank you very much. It helped that my father was in prison when I was young, and so Andy, my agent here in Ireland, said it. It's so shocking how you just say that so publicly, that my father was in prison. He was in prison for counterfeiting. About $72 million he counterfeited. And he did, in the Bahamas. Yeah. And so, as the story goes, for about 1 week we were vastly wealthy. And then he did a little time. So I had that to inspire me, right? Collect phone calls from Daddy.
Could have been crystal meth.
It could have been, and that's not nearly as romantic, is it? Nah. No, the counterfeiting father, that's all kind of, that's like Al Capone. Yeah. And if you met him, yeah, he's a TV series. Oh, yeah.
Sounds like an intelligent crime.
A very intelligent crime. He's a very intelligent man. I have actually written songs off of a couple of his poems. He's got one called Anemic Moon that he wrote looking out of the little tiny jail cell window, thinking that the moon that used to be La Bella Luna, the beautiful glowing angelic thing, was pale and paltry and anemic. And he felt so sorry for himself. So, and then I wrote, you talk so pretty by the side of the road. A lot of these phrases are his. Gosh, he wrote some glorious lines, noble goals and dried up tears like organ grinders play. He had these great songs, these great thematic things, and I took them into a song just about a girl who's just sick of the love him and leave him types. So that's one. I'll do a verse and chorus for you. You talk so pretty you talk so pretty like a preacher in the television way. Noble goals and dried up tears like organ grinders play. I thought my love would keep you here, at least until today. What will I tell my friends now that you've up and gone away? I count the days, but I know it always ends too soon. In between the light of dream and song, anemic moon and love you forever goes walking out my door, and I don't know if I can bear to think of you anymore. That's fine. It's anemic moon. So I write hook-driven songs sometimes, not because I'm trying to write a hook-driven song. I feel like the biggest mistakes I've made in writing have been when I've been trying to write for an audience. I don't know if any of you have scrambled with that notion. There are some people that exist out there to write just for an audience, and they do it very, very well. I have nothing against any of the great Nashville briefcase writers. I think they write hit songs. They're very, they stick in memory. It's not what I want to do, which is why I may not ever drive a Porsche. What I want to do is write the world the way I see it. I want to write it the way I see it, that no one else sees it. Oscar Wilde is the one who said, "Be yourself, everyone's already taken." Some songs are great solo instrumental pieces that I do all by myself. Some of them I want cello and I want violin and I want every other thing on. And I think that that's more than just the notion of song orchestration. That is more than just something that just some producer decides. That is a make it or break it for a song. And you and I, we've written the song. Somebody can come along and like I was thinking of that album. I'm not a fan of the Grateful Dead, but I'm not specifically a fan of the Grateful Dead. My ex-husband was. And I remember the album with all the big strings. Just like this is some sort of gigantic London Philharmonic thing that changed the sound so vastly. We might write the song and we can conceive of how it is and we want it set out a certain way. Somebody else can change that and either wreck it or make it. So when I think of songwriting, I think of from start to finish, from inspiration to the actual execution of the thing is the writing of the song. And that's how I see it. Other people may not see it that way, but that's kind of where I am. So I've written based on other people's poetry, quite a lot, actually. I was on the Mark Patterson show, he's BBC up north, and he said, isn't that just nicking other people's work? And I think that if I had grabbed actual full lines of people's poetry as opposed to one word, or just been inspired by the piece itself, maybe. But my English agent said to me, talent borrows, genius steals. I said, well, all right then. I feel okay. Oh, that was supposed to be funny. Sometimes I'm funny.
You're in
Sometimes
Ireland now, we did a sharp intake of breath.
You did? All right, well then I won't do the highly comical accordion song that I do, that I wrote for musical theater with a French accent, because...
Do it.
Oh, really? Really? Yes, no, yes. Maybe I'll end with it and I'll send you out with a laugh. How's that? Somebody described a song of mine called Red Bull as a still life. I like those. I like not belaboring too much relationship angst. I like sometimes putting it in a visual arena, and that's how I see the world. People have said I write cinematically. I think that's probably true, that I write a bit like a novelist. I can see that because I am so attached to the notion of storyline. But I'm finding more and more in songwriting, storyline is going by the wayside. And in songwriting more and more, with the new generation of songwriters, hook line is going away. It's very stream of consciousness. I wonder, from some of the really young songwriters, how will we hold on to those? How will we hold on to them over time, or do we need to anymore? We're watching, the record industry has collapsed predominantly more and more, not just because of digital technology, but because we have a generation of listeners who are not going to follow you as a band. You're going to get one good song, and then you're going to go into their iPod mix or their iPhone mix. How do we hold on to those? How are we going to hold without the hook line, which has for so long been the thing? You know, the hook brings you back. The hook is what holds your attention. The hook is what you anchor the feeling to. How do we hold on to these beautiful, gorgeous stream of consciousness pieces now? Some of the writers out there right now are just blowing me away. Beautiful stuff. But how are we going to hold on to it, I wonder? I see a backlash in the States of this 1980s heavy, heavy hook-driven, Journey and all this resurgence of all this hilarious kind of arena rock. But my kids know all of it, and they know all the Beatles songs. That seems like a backlash, in a way, to the stream of consciousness. I don't know if anybody else has got any ideas about that. I think that younger songwriters are also bored with formulaic writing. They think of it as hokey. And hell, in some ways it is. Maybe it's burned itself out. They're less interested maybe in storyline, and they're definitely unimpressed with predictable plot. At this point, they're unimpressed with predictable plot line. One of the reasons I could write Steal Me a Car in 30 minutes is because as you were listening, you knew exactly where it was going to go, didn't you? There was no surprise. You knew exactly. Very, very, very easy. I feel like I feel more challenged at this point, and I like to write away from that kind of formulaic movement. So the question for me becomes, and for all of us, what do we hope to achieve from the songs we're writing? Are we hoping to sell them to other people? Are we just trying to write our lives? Are we trying to write the world as artists the way that we see things? What is our goal, and does the goal and objective then inform the writing? Spent the night under the dark star, chasing my tail. All out of things to say, no one to tell anyway. The ambulance sped down the road in search of a heart whose beating had stopped, a life interrupted. Statements were taken and solemnly filed in a drawer. I wish I had known, she said, that he'd go off alone, she said. And Icarus fell while no one was looking. We had places to go, and what could we do? We fell out of the sky, disappeared in the blue, unending. Maybe it's better there on the other side. I hope that it is, for my sake and for his. It's got to be greener, she said, when they'd left with their lights all gone on their way. Nobody to save today. He should have known better than flying so close to the sun. The wings couldn't hold, but he never did what he was told. And Icarus fell while no one was looking. We had places to go, what could we do? He fell out of the sky, disappeared in the blue forever. I could have saved him, I could have just 1 minute more, had I thought of it then. But you know how it's been, all this thinking I do lately takes all of my attention. Dropped right off of the page. Nobody to catch them. May I live to at least forget him. And Icarus fell while no one was looking. We had places to go, and what could we do? Fell out of the sky, disappeared in the blue, unending, blue, unending sea. Thank you. This is a little musical theater number I did. It was a one act. There's Picasso. There's his muse, one of his models, some 20 years down the road, with, as chance would have it, long red hair, and she plays accordion. And he's promised her that she will become famous, and yet she is unrecognizable, and so she is not famous. And so she sees him in a bar, where she is still playing for tips. He doesn't recognize her, of course, it's 20 years later. And there have been so many muses, as we know with Picasso. Bad French accent, here it comes. How many women, monsieur, could be as lovely as her? The muse who made you the man, the world reveals if you can. Remember what was that promise, my little Venus de Milo? I will make you immortal, I am Pablo Picasso. Ha! Pablo, you cad, my floor was all that I had.
and then you plucked it, voila. How did you dare? You'll be the toast of Paris with your pre-Raphaelite hair. How could they recognize me? My head is square or rectangular, but everything is angular. Is that my breast or a fish? Quick, toss a coin, make a wish. My face looks like un pomfret. Is that my nose or my feet? Is a Quasimodo you painted? My poor dear mother, she fainted. And 21 to the year, I am still here making change. And isn't it strange that I am not famous, as is your canvas, yet you promised me the moon. You were inspired, I was admired, though you were always coming and going and going and coming and always too soon. And yes, it's true. 20 years gone, mon Dieu, I am more lovely than you and you and you, because I'm French. But even French women cry when they are forced to ask why, so cruelly tossed aside. A common wench, you are a bore, treated me like a... I was pretty and witty, and why such a pity that you painted me with 4 eyes and 2 noses? Where are my roses? This is très mal. I'm left with nothing at all, but I will see that you fall, no matter what I do. While you sit there alcoholic, drinking your brandy bucolic, you, sir, are no Jackson Pollock. Monsieur, adieu.
You've been lovely. Thank you very much.